I want to bring in, as a matter of fact, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. Congresswoman, good morning.
Good morning.
Politico, you saw that piece where your colleague, Kathy McMorris Rodgers, said, I think it's possible we would shut down the government to make sure President Obama understands that we're serious. Are you prepared to do that?
I think that each of us in the House, and I know speaking for myself, what we want to make certain is that this president, this administration, this bureaucracy realizes that kicking the can down the road has come to a stop. We've got the can. It is spending cuts, and it is imperative that we reduce the size of the federal government, that we get it on a mega diet, that we end this out-of-control spending. You know, Chris, we are borrowing 46 cents of every dollar we spend. We can't keep this up. We have to get on a spending plan that is going to lead us to fiscal health in this country.
But you couldn't be further apart with the president. I mean, because obviously Speaker Boehner has said he wants dollar-for-dollar cuts. So that would be an additional $1 trillion in cuts on top of sequestration. So we have two issues here. One is the government shutdown. The other is the debt ceiling. Let me ask you again, would you be willing to shut the government down?
We're going to look at all of these options. You know, there is the option of government shutdown. There is an option of raising the debt ceiling in short-term increments. There's even a plan out there. You know, I don't know. I just know that that's one of the things that is being floated, as you've seen in some of the articles, is raising it in short-term increments. There's also the plan of $3 in cuts for every $1 of debt limit increase. So there are a lot of plans out there. The healthy thing is this. We are having a good discussion on it, and the American people are very engaged in it. When I'm out in my district, like I was last week, and talking to my constituents, they will tell you they're over paying for programs they don't want, programs that have outlived their usefulness with money that we do not have.
But are they willing to see the government shut down? Are you hearing that, Congresswoman?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. But they want us to be thoughtful in what is done, and this is the good thing. You know, maybe it's better to keep it open so we can keep cutting it. What we want to do is look at all of these ramifications. If you were to do the shutdown, exactly what is going to continue? Who is going to hold the purse? What we want to make certain happens is that we in the House maintain control of the federal purse, that we are judicious, and that we are exercising good stewardship in making these cuts and spending reductions. And I think you're going to see Speaker Boehner, Leader Cantor, and our leadership team move forward on this with a very thoughtful plan.
Well, one of the things that we hear he's going to be talking about in Williamsburg is laying out for members like you what happens if we breach the debt ceiling. Here's some of what would happen. The FBI would shut down, prisons won't operate, the court system closes, tax refunds won't go out, the FAA would go offline. That's not even talking about what would happen in the financial markets, including the prospect of interest rates rising. Do you feel comfortable?
But Chris, we've already addressed some of these things about making certain the interest is paid, making certain that we prioritize. You know, budgets are to be about priorities anyway. And I think that there is a way we're going to have to find a way forward, if you will. We're going to have to work through a way forward so that we pay all of our bills, so that we are able to meet what we have to meet as far as our needs go, and that we are reducing what the federal government spends. There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal spending system. Everybody knows that. The time has come that everybody engage in this. The agencies, the bureaucracy, they've got to do their part on this. They just can't sit there and say, oh, you're cutting me because you're not giving me the amount of increase that I wanted. Those days are over.
I understand that. So I mean, we're almost
serious about doing this.
We're almost out of time. I just want to ask for you, not to speak for the Republican Party, but to speak for Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. Would you be willing, if you don't get the kind of cuts that you think are necessary, would you be willing to go into default or to shut down the government?
I think that there is a way to avoid default. If it requires shutting down certain portions of the government, let's look at that. Let's put these options on the table, be very thoughtful, but get this spending pattern broken. We cannot afford a $4 billion a day deficit and $1 trillion plus deficits every single year. We just cannot afford it, so it requires thoughtfulness, and it requires that we are going to have a plan to work through this. I think that that's where we as Republicans are headed.
Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
I appreciate it.
Michael.